Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Virgo for October 2018. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Check out my massive amount of free resources to help you. And if you'd love to have a live reading with me to see my personal insights for your chart, I'm off my long sabbatical from taking on new clients, and you can book a reading at anniehelpsyou.com. So what's going on in October? The highlight of the month is Venus retrograde. Been talking about this for a while because Venus retrograde does not happen very often. It happens every 18 months. When it does happen, it's only retrograde for about 6 weeks, but it has a shadow period the month before and the month afterwards, making the transit more like a 3 to 4 month thing. And it rules love, romance, beauty, aesthetics, design, money, finances, business. So it's a very all-encompassing type of an event because it covers so many areas in life. So I have put together what I think to be the most comprehensive series of information available on this transit. So definitely, I'm not going to be able to cover everything that I cover in my other resources in this video. My main focus for this video is to tell you some general things about Venus retrograde, do's and don'ts, cautionary things and things it's great for. Talk a little bit about the signs that it's retrograde in, but also very specifically the house for Virgo, the houses that are being focused on for you. And then talk about some general transits, some sweet spots, and some bumps. That's my intention for this video. But in my Venus retrograde video, if you search for Annie Botticelli Venus retrograde, crazy comprehensive video. I did a blog of the same name, Venus retrograde do's and don'ts. So if you search for that, you'll have a visual, long, lengthy, detailed with caveats. I mean, just really helping you with this. If you have to do anything involving love and money or beauty, you really need to understand this, okay? I also have a 12-part blog series with Venus retrograde in each sign and house and questions to ask. And I did a wonderful attributes of Venus retrograde in the birth chart. So if you have Venus retrograde at birth, or if you're an expectant parent and you're going to have a child with Venus in retrograde, then you will want to read this because everything else pretty much I've seen talks about negative traits of this transit, and I don't see it that way. So I want to support the positive things about it. So you can check that out there at anniehelpsyou.com. Okay, so now, in general, Venus retrograde, well, a retrograde in general, rules this reconsideration process, okay? So we're going in all the arenas that I mentioned. Things are coming back from the past to be reconsidered. We're redoing things. We're going back to old ideas, people from the past, ideas from the past. That is the focus. It's not a focus on new things, new romance, new launches, taking big steps, making big life-changing decisions in love and money and beauty, like doing a body augmentation, doing body art, doing design work at your home, big steps in relationships, moving in together, and other long-term commitments, making big financial decisions, making big business decisions, big launches, things like that are not as well favored for a couple of reasons. First of all, you're not seeing clearly. That's one of the taglines of Venus retrograde, is that you can't really see clearly at this time in these areas. So if you make a big decision, it's very well going to lead to, or very often going to lead to the question, what was I thinking? This is a common theme of Venus retrograde, is that people do things that seem like it's such a great idea. They cut all their hair off, they get this huge tattoo in their back, they redesign their house and everything purple or whatever, and then they look back and they're like, what was I thinking? There's something about the transit that clouds, like it makes us see, we put on these glasses in this transit and we just see things in this weird way. So you want to stick to re-examination of major issues, like assessing, researching, working in the backdrop, experimenting without long commitments. Things that are low stakes, like normal day-to-day things, is fine. Staying the course is fine. It's just the big things, that you really want to know all the rules and try to follow them. In general, it's the energy of the earthworm. It's like reworking old ground, doing it again, doing it again, doing it again. That's what this year has been all about, pretty much, to make very fertile soil for new growth and new beginnings. And that's coming soon. We're towards the end of this long retrograde cycle. Okay, so some of you, well, you early and some of you middle degree placements will have some of this retrograde energy in the third house. So we're going to talk about that. But all of you, all Virgo placements will have some semblance, if not all of it, in the second house. And because Venus is the ruler of the second house, this is going to be true for all of you. So I'm going to start with the second house because this is going to have pieces for every Virgo placement, okay? In general, Venus rules the second house, and there's this topic of, income, spending habits, financial priorities, sustainability, material assets and priorities, security. So Venus retrograde could bring a decrease in income, or it could bring a boom of money from the past. It's hard to tell, but in general, it favors business from the past, doing things that you've done before that worked. So it's a great time to do research and assessment on material things, but it's not the best time to sell things. So if you have to do appraisals, but it's not the best time to sell because many people are going to be selling emotionally. Now, if you are a treasure finder, you could get a lot of treasures because people are going to be giving things away that are really valuable and they just don't, they want to get it away from them. So you don't want to be that person that will then look back and say, oh gosh, I shouldn't have gotten rid of that thing for so cheap or whatever, And that the same goes for division of assets. If you're doing some business negotiation, or if you're having a divorce or a business separation, there's going to be a strong impulse to just say, take it all. Just let me get away from me, right? And maybe that's appropriate in certain cases, and I know in many cases in life that is a better off situation, right? But when Venus is in retrograde, the odds are increased that you'll look back and say, damn, I wish I would have gotten what I thought was my fair share, because now it's a done deal and you can't. So you want to try to really take that into consideration. So some questions you can proactively bring up to best use this transit, or things that may come up naturally as a product of the transit. Do you have a budget? Is it working for you? Are you in debt? Are your financial circumstances sustainable? Are you driving yourself in a hole? Are you living within your means? Are you saving money? If not, should you start? How can you start? Are you wasting money? Do you want more luxuries? Are you willing to trade the time and the resources to get them? Is the trade-off for the money worth the time and resources and the sacrifices you might have to make? Do you want to live more simply? How can you streamline your efforts to have more simple abundance? How are you making money? Do you enjoy how you're making money? Is it worth the sacrifices being made? Is there a better way? These are all questions that I've come up with for this cycle. What can you do now to ensure your future security? And what steps can you take to improve your financial picture? Just with the same way with self-esteem, which is very strongly at the root here, our money mindset is imprinted from parents and other caregivers in circumstances when we were young. So it doesn't always translate the same way as it did for our parents. Sometimes we get into the opposite situation, or sometimes we do exactly the same thing. But if your parents said things like, what do you think, I'm made of money? Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to sacrifice for things. You have to work hard. You have to do something you don't want to do to get your money. Like all of these things that your parents did, believed, told you, you took them on. You can more clearly look at these now to see, is holding on to that belief system serving you, and can you do some inner work? I love EFT. It's a free way. You can look up the emotional freedom technique. There are a million other things you can use too. Specifically for money, Margaret Lynch, you can look her up on YouTube. She does targeted EFT that helps you clear out your money paradigms. So this is very much about your self-esteem and money paradigms. So you can have a lot of blessings that come from the past, but you can also have a lot of unresolved things like, oh, this old thing again. People from the past, love relationships from the past, business from the past, for better or worse. So this is definitely a time to be conservative with money and to only buy if the 3 rules are intact, okay? These are my 3 rules for Venus retrograde. If it's really inexpensive, if you're getting a smoking hot deal, if you're not going to miss the money, okay? Anything that follows those rules, don't worry about it. If it doesn't, better worry about it. Okay, so making purchases like that can be fine if you're not spending wildly and you're sure you're not going to regret the expense, or if you regret the expense, it doesn't matter. See, those kind of purchases, don't even give it a second thought. It doesn't matter. But the other things, you definitely want to look at that. So my affirmation for the second house, I choose now to be smart with money. And you could use the word discerning with money. That has even a better vibe, I think. So now the early and quite a bit of you middle degree placements are going to have this retrograde in the third house. I'm going to give you all the heads up to listen to these messages even if you're not in that division, because the third house is going to be aspected for all of you. So even if the Venus retrograde doesn't bring it up, these other placements could. Okay, so what we're looking at here has to do with cousins, aunts, uncles, siblings, basically relatives that aren't parents or kids, you know, communication, you know, anything having to do with communicating with these relatives, your devices, your way of communicating, your vehicle transportation, you know, any of those things. So here are the questions to ask, or that may naturally come up, that are just ready for reevaluation at this time. Is how you're communicating getting you to where you want to be in your work and career, in your creative expression, in your relationships? Are there financial opportunities with these relatives that I mentioned? Are you spending money as it relates to your devices, communication, phones, tablets, etc.? Like, do you need to put more into them, or do you need to put less into them? And again, this is not the best time to make a purchase if you can help it, but you know, if you have to do it, you got to do it. But in general, like buying luxury items or buying expensive items, unless it follows the rules, like I talked about, if it's a smoking hot deal, if you're not going to miss the money, if you're, you know, that's fine. But I have seen when people buy a luxury item or an expensive item during Venus retrograde, it's more likely that it falls in the water, it cracks. So if you're going to get a device, protect its appearance and its functionality, because like having blemishes to how it looks is more likely, because Venus rules the appearance of things. So you just want to take that into consideration. Again, how are you using like money as it relates to vehicles and transportation? You know, do you need to put a little bit more into that? Do you need to put a little less into that? Is there a more, you know, desirable transportation situation for you? So my affirmation for you for this is, I spill love with every thought, every look, and every word. Okay, so these are the things I have most on my mind for Virgo. And now I want to talk about some more general Venus retrograde things to know, and some sweet spots, and a couple of places to look out for with some bumps. So I'm calling the theme of October 2018 for all signs Venus retrograde on the positive tip. We've already talked about what Venus retrograde in the house that it's retrograde for your sign can look like for you, and some strategies to best utilize that. And now I want to give you some general things, especially some positive things, but also with a few cautionary notes, and just a reminder that really you have to go watch my Venus retrograde video, Annie Botticelli Venus retrograde, and definitely look at the written version in my blog at anniehelpsyou.com, because there's so much to know about this transit. It's so long. It's from October 5th through November 15th as the actual retrograde, but a month before and a month after is the shadow period when we're going to still, these rules will apply. So one of the best things that Venus retrograde is amazing for is working on self-esteem. Everything that Venus rules, love, beauty, design, money, comes back to this energy of relationship with self. So our relationship with money and business, our relationship with other people, our relationship with how we feel like we look, all has to do with our self-esteem. So that's why in general it's not favored to try to push out in any of these other arenas, because it's really a time to locate and clear issues that are holding you back from the inside. So inner work, prayer, meditation, affirmation, you know, anything where you can heal from trauma and anything that's negatively affecting your self-esteem. is amazing for this time. Something else that's amazing for this time is to look to the past for improvements for love and money. Okay, so that means like if you did something with your partner in the past that worked really well, or if in general, you know, you did certain things with your love life in the past that worked really well. There could be like a renaissance, a returning back to things that worked really well. Many people who are separated from their love will have them come back to them in Venus retrograde. If there's someone that you left off with and you're not sure about, sometimes they come knocking again in Venus retrograde. And it's a really amazing time to reconsider things. It's just, and assess. It's just not the best time to commit to anything that you're figuring out from the assessments. Something that Venus retrograde is amazing for is for treasure hunters. If you are looking for a deal on something, unfortunately, this is coming from the fact that many people are not seeing clearly in money, and they're selling things of value for emotional reasons at crazy low prices. So if you have money to spare, you could wind up picking up an amazing deal. It's just a treasure hunter's delight. Definitely be careful though, because it could also, something you buy could become a money pit. So you have to make sure that you're getting a really great deal, and that, like if it's a house or something, you really need to do as many inspections as possible and just make sure, you know, you have all your bases covered, you know, extra inspections like sewage, septic, you know, whatever, everything that you can do to make sure that you know that what you're buying isn't going to have any negative surprises, then it could turn out really well. You just have to look out for that. So in general, going back to the past for love, going back to the past for money and business, things that worked in the past with money, clients from the past. If you do something like you teach or offer something regularly, sometimes in a Venus retrograde, you'll have a bunch of people from the past who had been considering taking this offering might come out in full force. And of course, it could happen the other way. You know, a lot of people do have financial issues, like financial backlog, where they have trouble with their finances, and then that's going to point to healing some inner issues that are causing these reflections or the lack of stability. Okay, so I'm going to talk about hit some sweet spots and hit some challenging spots in the month. Remember, definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter, because there I give you a write-up of this general transit in more detail with lots of dates of actual aspects, what the aspects are and what to look out for each aspect, so that you can plan ahead. I always send these out a month early. And if you are signed up for my newsletter and you're not getting these, I'm definitely sending them. I always send them meticulously on time. So you definitely check for like your spam, promotions, or social folders, because if you're not getting in the inbox, they're going there. And then you can just move it over to your inbox or whitelist the email on there to get them in there. Okay, so let's just do a quick review of some sweet spots. Well, actually, let's do the challenging ones first. Okay, so we've got things to look out for on October 2nd, 5th, 8th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 23rd, 24th, and 31st, with extra emphasis on those ones towards the end of the month, the 24th and the 31st. Now, it's interesting because in general, the second half of the month has a lot better flow and sweet energy, with the exception of those two spots. Okay, those are oppositions with Uranus that can bring jolts and surprises. That could be challenging. So just kind of tread lightly around those days. And then the other ones that I listed, you could see some challenges. Always look out around the full moon, which is like the 24th, because, you know, there could be drama or there could be fulfillment, completion or fruition. And that's going to be in these energies of Taurus. So fullness, completion, drama, fruition, coming to things involving money and business and self-worth. There's a topic coming up again, sensual delights, material resources, environmental and sustainability projects, boundaries, resistance to change, things like that. Oh, and anything having to do with your throat, vocal cords, thyroid gland, etc. could bring things to light, or bring things up to be dealt with. Okay, so I want to end off talking about the sweet spots. We've got some of the days that could turn out to be challenging could also turn out to be super sweet. So you'll hear when I list the sweet vibe days. And always remember, when I give you these dates, we could feel the energies before or after the actual date, because there's an orb of energy around each transit. So don't stick too heavily to the dates, just kind of tune into how you are experiencing the energy. So sweet spot possibilities on the 5th, the 8th, the 15th, the 19th. the 22nd, the 24th, the 26th, the 27th, and the 29th. In general, the second half of the month, like I said, has a lot of sweetness, with the exception of the 23rd, 24th, and the 31st, some things to look out for. But there's some really awesome things going on, like October 22nd. Mercury is making a beautiful aspect to Pluto. So your powers of persuasion are improved and your powers of perception are improved. Then there's also this October 27th with the Sun in Scorpio making an amazing aspect to Saturn. So this is a great energy to get things done, and also an enhanced possibility of being seen or acknowledged by somebody in a position that you want to notice you. So it could be like someone in your family that you've always been kind of chasing their approval, or it could be somebody, you know, in the work world. October 29th, there's this mixed bag, but it really has potential for a lot of good news and good luck. Mercury and Jupiter get together. So whenever any of these personal planets get together with Jupiter, the energy of luck, you know, amplifies out, and Mercury rules news. So some good news about money, about something involving your partner. It could be money from your partner. It could be your own money. Lots of magical potentials here. Of course, it could also bring intensity to conversations, you know, in the Scorpio realms or something like that. But in general, I'm looking for that day, hopefully, to have some good vibes. So overall, this month of October, some little awkward spots, and definitely the Venus retrograde is going to have this shadow. But if you understand the energies, as you will if you use all of the many resources that I made for you, then I think that this can be a really sweet month. And for the things that are challenging, you could really have pure alchemy to turn the lead to gold. So go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter. You can also see more about my personal live readings, which I'm off sabbatical and I'm taking new clients now. If you've been wanting to have a reading and have me look at your chart. Also, if you would love to learn astrology, check out my astrology apprenticeship program. I also have all kinds of other goodies on my website. If you want written horoscopes from me, they go into often different things than I focus on in the reports. So it's a really good written highlight and summary, and includes great reads for each sign. So cozy by sweetstarlight.com. And if you're a traveler and you want to see my astrology travel reports to see what days to look out for specifically for travel, then check out Astrology Kissed Travel Bliss. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.